Nari McDiarmid with you here at Mining News Select in Sydney, and I'd like to welcome Erik Anderson, Chief Executive with Practerra Commodities. And Erik, Rick Rule opened in his keynote talking about the underinvestment in commodities. Where do you see this pushing markets in the future?
Thanks, Nari. Well, thanks for having me. So yeah, as Rick said, there has been historic underinvestment, and not just in recent years, but for the last 2-3 decades. And so, what is this going to do in the markets? Well, obviously, for the obvious things like copper, it's having an upward pressure on price because sort of that demand is there. But more importantly, is that the supply is having difficulty, and that it's going to, I think, really struggle to keep pace with the demand. The projects are getting deeper, they're getting more expensive, permitting timelines are blowing out. So the existing mines that are supplying the market obviously have finite mine lives. And so to bring new supply online is more expensive, it takes much longer, it takes far more effort.
Erik, I'm also curious, you've spent more than 15 years in international trade. Given the current interesting dynamic climate we're in at the moment, what advice would you give to mining investors?
And I think investors need to be prepared for long time horizons. There are a lot of different ways to invest in the resources space. There are obviously listed equities, and there are tier one players that are mining in Australia and all over the world, and I think probably provide very good returns. There are small and micro cap players that are either have smaller projects but are still producing, or are still in the exploration and development stage. But then there are lots of projects that don't reach the listed markets. There are projects that are unlisted, that are owned by sole owner operators or very small teams that are quietly producing good projects. Obviously, these are not massive projects like big coal mines, for instance, but they will be sort of metal miners, whether it's gold or silver or lead or tin or any of these sorts of palladium group sort of metals that are maybe easier to mine without massive overinvestment. And I would encourage investors to look at those as well, and getting in sort of on a private equity style. It's not venture capital, but it's more private equity style basis is to invest in those. A, you're closer to the project. B, you've got more control. C, the returns could be higher. I see a lot of people walking around even here today saying, "Oh, we're investing in gold projects," but they're investing in gold companies. They're not actually investing in gold projects. And they want to come and they want to meet with the CEO and they want to do that, and they may have great returns, but they don't necessarily have that control and to be able to go in and actually sort of help shape a project. And I think that's a great way to, if you're really looking for those private equity style returns, if you want to 10x your money or more, I would say you have to invest in a lot of companies to be able to hit on one in the stock market to be able to do that. Whereas, if you look at a good project and you find your right project and then you add your own blood, sweat, and tears into that project, you're far more likely to get those really 10-bag returns on something that you actually can physically touch and I think go work in. So I mean, that would be one thing. But if you are investing in the equity markets, the listed equity markets, I would say take a very long-term view, take a 20-year time horizon.
Be interesting to see where things are then.
It would be very interesting to see where things are then. If I had to speculate on that, if I had to hope on that, I would hope that a country like Australia has invested more in structurally in developing projects, as we sort of touched on in your first question, in that, there has been this underinvestment, and that it makes much more sense to invest in things like midstream processing capacity and downstream processing capacity, and even manufacturing capacity, right? So that, for instance, we're not selling our iron ore to China and then buying the steel pack at 10 times the price, that we can actually make our own steel here, or that we are making, for instance, for the energy transition, if you will, if we've got lithium mines here and we've got rare earth metal mines and we've got critical minerals here, Why is it that we're selling the raw product? Why don't we have the jobs and have the investment here and take not only the raw materials, but produce them into the final end product and own the supply chain from start to finish? I think that would do far greater things for the Australian economy than simply being the dig it up and sell it factory.
Erik, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.